Hi, I'm back. I'll be reading chapter 12 of the book Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Chapter 12 Professor Umbridge. Seamus dressed at top speed next morning and left the dormitory before Harry had even put on his socks. Does he think he will turn into a nuttier if he stays in a room with me too long? Asked Harry loudly as Seamus ropes whipped out of sight. Don't worry about it, Harry, Dean muttered, hosting his his school bag onto his shoulder. He's just, but apparently he was unable to say exactly what Seamus was, a after a slightly awkward pause, allowed him out of the room. Neville and Ron both gave Harry. It's his problem, not yours. Looks, but Harry was not much consoled. How much more of this was he going to have to take? What's the matter? Asked Hermione. 5 minutes later, catching up with Harry and Ron halfway across the common room as they all headed toward breakfast. You look absolutely, oh, for heaven's sake. She was staring at the common room notice board where a large new sign had been put up. Gallons of gallons. Po- Pocket money, pocket money failing to keep peace with your outgoings like to earn a little extra gold. Contact Fred and George Weasley, Gryffindor, Common Room, for simple, part-time, virtually painless jobs. We regret that all work is undertaken at applicants' own risk. They are the limit, said Hermione grimly, taking down the sign which Fred and George had pinned up over a poster giving the date of the first Hogsmeade weekend in October. We will have to talk to them, Ron. Ron looked positively alarmed. Why? Because we are prefects, said Hermione, as they climbed out through the portrait hole. It's up to us to stop this kind of thing. Ron said nothing. Harry could tell from his glum expression that the prospect of stopping Fred and George doing exactly what they liked was not one that he found inviting anyway. What's up, Harry? Hermione continued as they walked down a flight of stairs lined with portraits of old witches and wizards, all of whom ignored them, being engrossed in their own conversation. You look really angry about something. Seaman reckons Harry's lying about you. Know who? Said one SUCCINCTLY when Harry did not respond. Hermione, whom Harry had expected to react angrily on his behalf, sighed. Yes, Lavendar thinks so too, she said gloomily. Been having a nice little chat with her about whether or not I'm a lying, attention-seeking brat. Have you? Harry asked loudly. No, said Hermione calmly. I told her to keep her, her big, fat, fat mouth shut about you, actually, and it would be quite nice if you stopped jumping down wands and my throat, Harry. Because if you haven't noticed, we are on your side. Your side. There was a short pause. Sorry, said Harry, in a low voice. That's quite all right, said Hermione with dignity. Then she shook her head. Don't you remember what Dumbledore said At the end of Tom Fee's last year, Harry and Ron both looked at her blankly, and Hermione sighed again. About you. Know who? He said. His gift for spreading discord and enmity is very great. We can fight it only by showing an equally strong bond of friendship and trust. How do you remember stuff like that? Asked Ron, looking at her in admiration. I listen, Ron, said Hermione, with a touch of Asperity. So do I, but I still couldn't tell you exactly what. The point, Hermione pressed on loudly, is that this sort of thing is exactly what Dumbledore was talking about. You know who's only been back 2 months, and we have started started fighting among ourselves, and the Sorting Hat's warning was the same: stand together, be united, be united. And Harry said it last night, retorted Ron. If that means we are supposed to get matey with the Slytherin's fat chance, well, I think it's a pity we are not trying for a bit of inner house unity, said Hermione crossly. They had reached the foot of the marble staircase. A line of fourth-year Ravenclaws was crossing the entrance hall. They caught sight of Harry and Harry to form a tighter group, as though frightened. He might attack stragglers. Yeah, we really ought to be trying to make friends with people like that, said Harry sarcastically. Sarcastically. They followed the Ravenclaws into the great hall, looking instinctively at the staff table as they entered. Professor Grubbly was chattering to Professor Sinistra, the astronomy teacher, and Hagrid was once again conspicuous only by his absence. The enchanted ceiling above them echoed Harry's mood. It was a miserable rain cloud grain. Dumbledore didn't even mention how long that Grubbly plank woman staying, he said, as they made their way across to the Gryffindor table. Maybe, said Hermione thoughtfully. What? Said both Harry and Ron together. Well, maybe he didn't want to draw attention to Hagrid not being here. What do you mean, draw attention to it? Said Ron, half laughing. How could we not notice? Not notice. Before Hermione could answer, a tall, black girl with long braided hair had marched up to Harry. Hi, Angelina. Hi, she said briskly. Good summer? And without waiting for an answer, listen. I have been made Gryffindor Quidditch captain. Nice one, said Harry, grinning at her. He suspected Angelina Potter's pep talks might not be as long-winded as Oliver Wood's had been, which could only be an improvement. Yeah, well, we need a new keeper. Now all of us left. Tryouts are on Friday at 5 o'clock, and I want the whole team there. All right, then we can see how the new person will fit in. Okay, said Harry, and she smiled at him and departed. I forgotten Wood had left, said Hermione vaguely. sitting down beside Juan and pulling a plate of toast toward her. I suppose that will make quite a difference to the team. I suppose, said Harry, taking the bench opposite. He was a good keeper. Still, it won't hurt to have some new blood, will it? Said one. I smell something.
You do?
Maybe it's from next door.
Yeah, me too. You didn't leave an oven on or anything, right, sweetie?
What?
No, I don't think you did. I smell something in here too. Oh, maybe it's the ant spray. Want me to go? Maybe it's coming in through the windows. Let me go look.
Still, it won't hurt to have some new blood, will it? Said Juan. With a swoosh and a clatter, hundreds of owls came soaring in through the upper windows. They descended all over the hall, bringing letters and packages to the owners and showering the breakfast with droplets of water. It was clearly raining hard outside. Hedwig was nowhere to be seen, but Harry was hardly surprised. His only correspondent was Sirius, and he doubted Sirius would have anything new to tell him after only 24 hours apart. Hermione, however, had to move her orange juice aside quickly to make way for a large stamp barn owl bearing a certain daily profit in its beak. In
Yeah,
its
I think we're okay, Emily.
yeah, in its beak. What are you still get? What are you still getting that for? Said Harry irritably, thinking of Seamus as Hermione plays state KNUT and the leather pouch on the owl's leg, and it took off again. I am not bothering. Load of rubbish. It's best to know what the enemy are saying, said Hermione darkly, and she unfolded the newspaper and disappeared behind it, not emerging until Harry and Ron had finished eating. Nothing, she said simply, rolling up the newspaper and laying it down by her plate. Nothing about you or Dumbledore or anything. Professor McGonagall was now moving along the table, Handing out schedules. Look after day, groaned Ron. History, a magic double portion, the variation, and double defense against the dark arts. BINNS. Snape. TRELAWNEY, and that Umbridge woman, all in one day. I was Fred and George. Hurry up and get those SKIVING snack boxes sorted. Do do my ears deceive me? Said Fred, arriving with George and squeezing onto the bench beside Harry. Hogwarts perfects. So sorry, don't wish to SKIVE off lessons. Look what we have got today, so on glumly, shoving his schedule under Fred's nose. That's the worst Monday I've ever seen. Fair point, little bro, said Fred, scanning the column. You can have a bit of nosebleed, NOUGAT, cheap, if you like. Why is it cheap? To Ron suspiciously. Because you will keep bleeding till you shrivel up. We haven't got an antidote yet, said George, helping himself to a kipper chair, so on moodily pocketing his schedule. But I think I would take the lessons. And speaking of your SKIVING snack boxes ceremony, eyeing Fred and George speedily. You can advertise for testers on the Gryffindor notice board. Says you, said George, looking astonished. Says me, said Hermione, and Ron. Leave me out of it, said Ron hastily. Hermione glared at him. Fred and George snickered. You will be. You will be. You will be. Singing a different tune. Soon enough, Hermione, said Fred, thickly buttering a crumpet. You are starting your fifth year. You will be begging us for a snack box before long. Before long. And why would starting fifth year mean I want a SKIVING snack box as Hermione fifth year's OWL year, said George. So you have got your exams coming up, haven't you? They will be keeping your noses so hard to that grindstone. They will be rubbed raw, said with satisfaction. Half 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 our year had had minor breakdowns coming up to OWLs, said George happily. Tears and tantrums. PATRICIASTIMPSON kept 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 coming over faint. KENNETHTOWLER came out in boils. Do you remember, said Fred? REMINISCENTLY. That's 'cause you put BULBADOX powder in his pajamas, said George. Oh yes, said Fred, grinning. I've forgotten. How I've forgotten. Hard, hard to keep track sometimes, isn't it? Anyway, it's a nightmare of a year, the fifth, said George. If you care about exam results anyway, Fred and I managed to keep our spirits up somehow. Yeah, you got what was it? 3 OWLs each, said one. Yep, said Fred, unconcernedly, but we feel our futures lie outside the world of academic achievement. We seriously debated whether we were going to bother coming back for our seventh year, said George brightly. Now that we have got, he broke off at a warning look from Harry, who knew George had been to mention the Triwizard warnings he had given them. Now that we have got our OWLs, George said hastily. I mean, do we really need any WTs? But we didn't think Mom could take us, leaving school early, not on top of Percy, turning out to be the world's biggest brat.
I'm listening here to you read.
Biggest brat. We are not going to waste our last year here, though, said Fred, looking affectionately around at the great hall. We are going to use it to do a bit of market research, find out exactly what the average Hogwarts student requires from his joke shop, carefully evaluate the results of our research, and then produce the products to fit the demand. But where are you going to get the gold to start a joke shop? Asked Hermione skeptically. You are going to need all the ingredients and materials and premises too, I suppose. Harry did not look at the twins. His face felt hot. He deliberately dropped his fork and dived down to retrieve it. He heard Fred say overhead, "Ask us no questions, and we will tell you no lies, Hermione. Come, George. If we get if we get there early, we might be able to sell a few extendable ears before her apology." Harry emerged from under the table to see Fred and George walking away, each carrying a stack of toast. What did that mean? Said Hermione, looking from Harry to Ron. Ask us no questions. Does that mean they have already got some gold to start a joke shop? A joke shop? You know, I have been wondering about that, so on his brow forward. They brought me a new set of dress robes this summer, and I couldn't understand where they got the gallons. Harry decided it was time to steer the conversation out of these dangerous waters. Do you reckon it's true? This year's going to be really tough because of the exams. Oh yes, so on. Bound to be, isn't it? OWLs are really important. Affect the jobs you can apply for and everything. We get career advice too later this year. Bill told me, so you can choose any WTs you want to do next year. Do you know what you want to do after Hogwarts? Harry asked the other two as they left the great hall shortly afterward and set off toward the history magic classroom. Not really, said Ron slowly, except, well, he looked slightly sheepish. What? Harry urged him. Well, it'd be cool to be an Aurora, said Ron in an offhand voice. Yeah, it would, said Harry feverishly. But they are like the elite, so on. You have got to be really good. What about you, Hermione? I don't know, said Hermione. I think I really like to do something worthwhile. And a war is worthwhile, said Harry. Yes, it is, but it's not. But it's not the only worthwhile thing, said Hermione thoughtfully. I mean, if I mean, I mean, if I could take SPEW further. Harry and Ron carefully avoided looking at each other. At each other. History and magic was, by common consent, the most boring subject ever devised by wizard kind. Professor Binns, the ghost teacher, had a wheezy, droning voice that was almost guaranteed to cause severe drowsiness within 10 minutes. Five in warm weather. He never varied the form of the lessons, but lectured them without pausing, while they took notes, or rather gazed sheep, sheep, or rather gazed sleepily into space. Harry and Ron had so far managed to scrape passes in the subject only by copying Hermione's notes before exams. She alone seemed able to resist the SOPORIFIC power of Ben's voice. Today they suffered an hour and a half droning on the subject of giant wars. Harry heard just enough within the first 10 minutes to appreciate dimly that in in other teachers' hands, the subject might have been mildly interesting, but then his brain disengaged, and he spent the remaining hour and 20 minutes playing hangman on the corner of his parchment with Ron, while Hermione sought them filthy looks out of the corner of her eye. Avoid. How would it be, she asked them coldly as they left the classroom for break bins, drifting away through the blackboard. If I refuse to lend you my notes this year, we'd fail our OWL so on. If you want that on your conscience, Hermione, well, you deserve it, she snapped. You don't even try to listen to him, do you? Do you? We do try so on. We just haven't got your brains or your memory or your concentration. You are just cleverer than we are. Is it nice to rub it in? Oh, don't give me that rubbish, said Hermione. But she looked slightly mollified as she led the way out into the damp courtyard. A fine misty drizzle was falling, so that the people standing in huddles around the edges of the yard looked blurred at the edges. Harry, Ron, and Hermione chose a secluded corner under a heavily dripping balcony, turning up the collars of the robes against the chilly September air and talking about what Snape was likely to set them in the first lesson of the year. They had got as far as agreeing that it was likely to be something extremely difficult, just to catch them off guard after a 2 month holiday when someone walked around around the corridor toward them. Toward them. Hello, Harry. It was Cho Chang, and what was more, she was on her own again. This was most unusual. Cho was almost always surrounded by a gang of giggling girls. Harry remembered the agony of trying to get her by herself to ask her to your bar. Hi, said Harry, feeling his face grow hot. At least you are not covered in stink sap this year. This time, he told himself. Charles seemed to be thinking along the same lines. You got that stuff off then? He asked Harry, trying to grin, as though the memory of their last meeting was funny as opposed to mortifying. So, did your ER have a good summer? Have a good summer? The moment he had said this, he wished he hadn't. Cedric had been Cho's boyfriend, and the memory of his death must have affected her holiday almost as badly as it had affected Harry's. Something seemed to TAUTEN in her face, but she said, "Oh, it was all right, you know. Is that a tornado's badge?" Ron demanded suddenly, pointing at the front of Cho's robes, to which a sky blue badge emblazoned with a double gold T was pinned. You don't support them, do you? Do you? Yeah, I do, said Chow. Have you always supported them, or just since they started winning the league, said Ron, and what Harry considered an unnecessarily and unusually ACCUSATORY tone of voice. I had supported them since I was 6, said Cho coldly. Anyway, see you, Harry. See you, Harry. She walked away. Hermione waited until Cho was halfway across the courtyard before rounding on Ron. You are so tactless. What? I only asked her if. Couldn't, couldn't you? Tell. She wanted to talk to Harry on her own, so she could have done. I wasn't stopping. What on earth were you attacking her about a Quidditch team for attacking? I wasn't attacking her. I was only. Who cares if she supports the tornadoes? The tornadoes. Oh, come on. Half the people you see wearing those badges only bought them last season. But but what does it matter? It means they are not real fans. They are just jumping on the bandwagon. That's the bell, said Harry Dudley, because Ron and Hermione were bickering too loudly to it. They did not stop arguing all the way down to Snape's dungeon, which gave Harry plenty of time to reflect that between Neville and Ron, he would be lucky ever to have 2 minutes conversation with Cho that he could look back on without wanting to leave the country. And yet, he thought, as they joined the queue line lining up outside Snape's classroom door, she had chosen to come and talk to him, hadn't she? She had she had been Cedric's girlfriend. She could easily have hated Harry for coming out of the Triwizard Maze alive when Cedric had died. Yet she was talking to him in a perfectly friendly way, not as though she thought him mad or a liar or in some horrible way responsible for Cedric's death. Yes, she had definitely chosen to come and talk to him, and that made the second time in 2 days. And at this thought, Harry's spirits rose. Even the ominous sound of Snape's dungeon door creaking open did not punctuate the small, hopeful bubble that seemed to have swelled in his chest. He filed into the classroom behind Ron and Hermione and followed them to their usual table at the back, where he sat down between Ron and Hermione and ignored the huffy, edible noises now issuing from both of them. Settle down, said Snape coldly, shutting the door behind him. There was no real need for the call to order. The moment the class had heard the door close, quiet had fallen, and all fidgeting stopped. Snape's mere presence was usual enough to ensure a class silence. Before we begin today's lesson, said Snape, sweeping over to his desk and staring around at them all, I think it appropriate to remind you the next June you will be sitting an important examination during which you will prove how much you have learned about the composition and use of magical potions. MORONIC thought. Some of this class undoubtedly are. I expect you to scrape an unacceptable in your OWL or suffer my displeasure. His gaze lingered, this time upon Neville, who gulped. After this year, of course, many of you will cease studying with me, Snape went on. I take only the very best into my NEWT potions class, which means that some of us will certainly be saying goodbye. Goodbye. His eyes rested on Harry and his lips curled. Harry glared back, feeling a grim pleasure at the idea that he would be able to give up potions after fifth year. But we have another year to go before that. Before that, happy moment of farewell, said Snape softly. So whether you are intending to attempt any WT or not, I advise all of you to concentrate your efforts upon maintaining the high pass level I have come to expect from my OWL students. Today we will be mixing a potion that often comes up at ordinary wizarding level. The drought piece, a potion to calm anxiety and soothe irritation. Be warned, if you are too heavy-handed with the ingredients, you will put the drinker into a heavy and sometimes irreversible sleep. So you will need to pay close attention to what you are doing. You are doing. On Harry's left, Hermione sat up a little straighter, her expression one of the uttermost attentiveness. The ingredients and methods. Snape flicked his wand on the blackboard. They appeared there. You will find everything you need. He flicked his wand again in the store cupboard. The door of the said cupboard sprang open. You have an hour and a half. Start. Start. Just as Harry, Ron, and Hermione had predicted, Snape could hardly have set them a more difficult FIDDLY potion. The ingredients had to be added to the cauldron in exactly the right order and quantities. The mixture had to be stirred exactly the right number of times, first briskly and clockwise, then in counterclockwise directions. The heat of the flames on which it was simmering had to be lowered to exactly the right level for a specific number of minutes before the final ingredient was added. A slight sliver of vapor. So now, be rising from your potion, called Snape. Snape, with 10 minutes left to go, Harry, who was sweating profusely, looked desperately around. The dungeon, his own cauldron, was issuing copious amounts of dark gray steam wands, was spitting green sparks. Seamus was feverishly producing the flames at the base of his cauldron with the tip of his wand as they had gone out. The surface of Hermione's potion, however, was a shimmering mist of silver vapor, and a Snape swept by. He looked down his hooked nose at it without comment, which meant that he could find nothing to criticize at Harry's cauldron. However, Snape stopped, looking down at Harry with a horrible smirk on his face. Potter, what is this supposed to be? The Slytherins at the front of the class all looked up equally. They loved hearing Snape taunt Harry. The drought appeased Harry tensely Tell me, Potter, said Snape softly. Can you read? Draco Malfoy laughed. Yes, I can, said Harry. His fingers clenched tightly around his wand. Read the third line of the instructions for me, Potter. Harry squinted at the blackboard. It was not easy to make out the instructions. Through the haze of multicolored steam, now filling the dungeon. Add powdered moonstone star 3 times counterclockwise. Allowed to simmer for 7 minutes. Then add 2 drops of syrup of HELLEBORE. His heart sank. He had not added syrup of HELLEBORE, but had proceeded straight to the fourth line of the instructions after allowing his potion to simmer for 7 minutes. Did you do everything on the third line, Potter? No, said Harry very quietly. I beg your pardon? No, said Harry more loudly. I forgot the HELLEBORE. I know you did, Potter, which means that this mess is utterly worthless. Worthless. EVANESEO. The contents of Harry's potion vanished. He was left standing foolishly beside an empty cauldron. Those of you who have managed to read the instructions, fill 1 flagon with a sample of your potion, label it clearly with your name, and bring it up to my desk for testing, said Snape. Homework: 12 inches of parchment on the properties of Moonstone and its uses in potion making to be handed in on Thursday. While everyone around him filled their flagons, Harry cleared away his things, seizing his potion had been no worse than Ron's, which was now giving off a foul odor of bad eggs, or Neville's, which had achieved the consistency of just mixed cement, and which Neville was now having to gorge out of his cauldron. Yet it was he, Harry, who would be receiving 0 marks for the day's work. He stepped his wand back into his bag and slumped down onto his seat, watching everyone else march up to Snape's desk with filled and corked flagons. When at long last the bell rang, Harry was forced out of the dungeon and had already started his lunch by the time Ron and Hermione joined him in the Great Hall. The ceiling had turned an even muckier gray during the morning rain was lashing the high windows. That was really unfair, said Hermione consolingly, sitting down next to Harry and helping herself to shepherd's pie. Your portion wasn't nearly as bad as Gurgle's. When he put it in his flagon, the whole thing shattered and set his robes on fire. Yeah, well, said Harry, glowing at his plate. Since when has Snape ever been fair to me? Been fair to me. Neither of the others answered. All 3 of them knew that Snape and Harry's mutual enmity had been absolute from the moment Harry had set foot in Hogwarts. I did think he might be a bit better this year, said Hermione in a disappointed voice. I mean, you know, she looked carefully around. There were half a dozen empty seats on either side of them, and nobody was passing the table now. Now he's in the order and everything. Poisonous toadstools Don't change the spot so unsightly. Anyway, I have always thought Dumbledore was cracked. Trusting Snape. Where's the evidence? He ever really stopped working for you. No, who? I think Dumbledore's probably got plenty of evidence, even if he doesn't share it with you on Hermione. Snape Hermione. Oh, shut up. The pair of you, said Harry heavily, as Ron opened his mouth to argue back. Hermione and Ron both froze, looking angry and offended. Can't you give it a rest, he said. You are always having a go at each other. It's driving me mad. And abandoning his shepherd's pie, he flung his school bag back over his shoulder and left them sitting there. He walked up the marble staircase, 2 steps at a time, past the many students hurrying toward lunch. The anger that had just flared so unexpectedly still blazed inside him, and the vision of Ron and Hermione's shocked faces afforded him a sense of deep satisfaction. Sorcerer Whitey thought, why can't they give it a rest? Bickering all the time, it's enough to drive anyone off the wall. He passed the large picture of a saw, Cadogan, the knight, on a landing. Saw Cadogan, drew a sword and brandished it fiercely at Harry, who ignored him. Come back, you scurvy dog. Stand fast and fight. And fight, yelled Shaw, Cadogan, in a muffled voice from behind his visor, but Harry merely walked on, and when Shaw, Cadogan, attempted to follow him by running into a neighboring picture, he was rebuffed by its inhabitant, a large and angry-looking wolfhound. Harry spent the rest of the lunch hour sitting alone underneath the trapdoor at the top of North Tower, and consequently he was the first to ascend the silver ladder that led to SIBYLL Ewell Potter's classroom when the bell rang. The devitation was Harry's least favorite class of portions, which was due mainly to Professor Trelawn Potter's habit of predicting his premature death every few lessons. A thin woman heavily draped in shawls and glittering with strings of beads. She always reminded Harry of some kind of insect with her glasses, usually magnifying her eyes. She was busy putting copies of battered, leather-bound books on each of the spinally little tables with which her room was glittered when Harry entered the room. But so dim was the light cast by the lamps covered by scars and the low burning, sickly scented fire that she appeared not to notice him as he took a seat in the shadows. The rest of the class arrived over the next 5 minutes. Ron emerged from the trapdoor looking around carefully, spotted Harry, and made directly for him, or as directly as he could, while having to win his way between tables, chairs, and over stuff. Puffs. Hermione, Emmy, I'll stop arguing, he said, sitting down beside Harry. Good, grunted Harry. But Hermione says she thinks it would be nice if you stop taking out your temper on us, so on. I'm not. I am just passing on the message, so on, talking over him. But I reckon she's right. It's not our fault how Seamus and Snape treat you. I I never said it, but they said Professor Trelawney in a usual misty, dreamy voice, and Harry broke off, feeling both annoyed and slightly ashamed of himself again. And welcome back to Divination. I have, of course, been following your fortunes most carefully over the holidays, and am delighted to see that you have all returned to Hogwarts safely, as of course I knew you would. You will find on the tables before you copies of The Dream Oracle by Imago. Dream interpretation is the most important means uh, divining the future, and one that may very well be tested in your OWL. Not, of course, that I believe examination passes or failures or of the uttermost importance when it comes to the skills art of divination. If you have the CNI certificates and grades matter very little. However, the headmaster likes you to sit that examination, so her voice trailed away delicately, leaving them all in. No doubt that Professor Trelawney considered her subject above such sordid matters examinations. As examinations. Turn please to the introduction and read what Imago has to say on the matter of dream interpretation. Then divide into pairs. Use the dream oracle to interpret each other's most recent dreams. Carry on. The one good thing to be said for this lesson was that it was not a double period by the time they had all finished reading the introduction of the book. They had barely 10 minutes left for dream interpretation. At the table next to Harry and Ron, Dean had paired up with Neville, who immediately embarked on a long-winded explanation of a nightmare involving a giant scissors wearing his grandmother's best hat. Harry and Ron merely looked at each other glumly. What are you looking for?
I'm not looking for anything. I'm just brushing the crumbs off so the ants don't come.
Looked at each other glumly. I never remember my dreams, so on. You say one. You must remember one of them, said Harry impatiently. He was not going to share his dreams with anyone. He knew perfectly well what his regular nightmare about a graveyard meant. He did not need one or Professor Trelawney or the stupid dream oracle to tell him that. Well, I had one that I was playing playing Quidditch the other night, so on, screwing up his face in an effort to remember. What do you reckon that means? Probably that you are going to be eaten by a giant mushroom or something, said Harry, turning the pages of the dream oracle. Without interest, it was very dull work looking at bits of dreams in the oracle, and Harry was not cheered up when Professor Trelawny set them the task of keeping a dream diary for a month as homework. When the bell went, he and Ron led the way back down the ladder, one grumbling loudly. Do you realize how much homework we have got already? Bins said us a foot and a half long essay on giant wars. Snape wants a foot on the use of moonstones, and now we have got a month. Dream diary from Trelawny. Fred and George weren't wrong about OWL year. Were they? That Umbridge woman had better not give us any. When they entered the defense against the dark arts classroom, they found Professor Umbridge already seated at the teacher's desk, wearing the fluffy pink cardigan of the night before, and the black velvet bow on top of her head. Harry was again reminded forcibly of a large fly perched unwisely on top of an even larger toad. The class was quiet as it entered the room. Professor Umbridge was as yet an unknown quantity, and nobody knew yet how strict a disciplinarian she was likely to be. Well, good afternoon, she said. When finally the whole class had sat down, a few people mumbled good afternoon in reply. Tut, said Professor Umbridge. That won't do now, will it? I will. I should like you, please, to reply. Good afternoon, Professor Umbridge. One more time, please. Good afternoon, class. Good afternoon, Professor Umbridge. They chanted back. Out of there now, said Professor Umbridge sweetly. That wasn't too difficult, was it? Wands away and quills out, please. Many of the class exchanged gloomy looks. The order wands away had never yet been followed by a lesson they had found interesting. Harry shoved his wand back inside his bag and pulled out quill ink and parchment. Professor Umbridge opened her handbag, extracted her own wand, which was an unusually short one, and tapped the blackboard sharply with it. Words appeared on the board at once. Defense against the dark arts, a return to basic principles. Well, now you're teaching, and the subject has been rather disrupted and fragmented, hasn't it? Stated Professor Umbridge, turning to face the class with her hands clasped neatly in front of her. The constant changing of teachers, many of whom do not seem to have followed any ministry approved curriculum, has unfortunately resulted in your being far below the standard we would expect to see in your OWL year. You will be pleased to know, however, that these problems are now to be rectified. We will be following a carefully structured, theory-centered, ministry-approved course of defensive a defensive magic this year. Copy down the following, please. She wiped the blackboard again. The first message vanished and was replaced by Course Aims 1. Understanding the principles. Underlying defensive magic 2. Learning to recognize situations in which defensive mag- magic can legally be used. 3. Placing the use of defensive magic in a context for practical use. For a couple of minutes, the room was full of the sound of scratching quills on parchment. When everyone had copied down Professor Umbridge's 3 course aims, she said, "Has everybody got a copy of Defensive Magical Theory by Wilbert Slinkhart?" There was a dull murmur of assent throughout the class. "I think we will try that again," said Professor Umbridge. When I ask you a question, I should like you to reply yes, Professor Umbridge, or no, Professor Umbridge. So has everyone got a copy of A Defensive Magical Theory by Wilbert Slinkhart? Yes, Professor Umbridge. Ring through the room. Good, said Professor Umbridge. I should like you to turn to page 5 and read Chapter 1, Basics for Beginners. There will be no need to talk. Professor Umbridge left the blackboard and settled herself in the chair behind the teacher's desk, observing them all closely. With those pouchy toad's eyes, Harry turned to page 5 of his copy of Defensive Magical Theory and started to read. It was desperately dull, quite as bad as listening to Professor Binns. He felt his concentration sliding away from him. He had soon read the same line half a dozen times without taking in more than the first few words. Several silent minutes passed. Next to him, Ron was absently, minorly turning his quill over and over in his fingers, staring at the same spot on the page. Harry looked right and received a surprise to shake him out of his stupor. Hermione had not even opened her copy of Defensive Magical Theory. She was staring fixedly at Professor Umbridge with her hand in the air. Harry could not remember Hermione ever neglecting to read when instructed to, or indeed resisting the temptation to open any book that came under her nose. He looked at her quizzically, but she merely shook her head slightly to indicate that she was not about to answer questions, and continued to stare at Professor Umbridge, who was looking just as resolutely in another direction. After several more minutes had passed, however, Harry was not the only one watching Hermione. The chapter they had been instructed to read was so tedious that more and more people were choosing to watch Hermione's muted attempt to catch Professor Umbridge's eye than to struggle on with Basics for Beginners, when more than half the class was staring at Hermione rather than at the books. Professor Umbridge seemed to decide that she could ignore the situation no longer. "Did you want to ask something about the chapter, dear?" she asked Hermione, as though she had only just noticed her. "Not about the chapter, no," said Hermione. "Well, We are reading just now, said Professor Umbridge, showing her small pointed teeth. If you have other queries, we can deal with them at the end of class. I have got a query about your course aims, said Hermione. Professor Umbridge raised her eyebrows. And your name is Hermione Granger, said Hermione. Well, Miss Granger, I think the course aims are perfectly clear. If you read them through carefully, said Professor Umbridge, in a voice of determined-minded sweetness. Well, I don't, said Hermione bluntly. There's nothing written up there about using defensive spells. Defensive spells. There was a short silence in which many members of the class turned their heads to frown at the three course aims still written on the blackboard. Using defensive spells, Professor Umbridge repeated with a little laugh. Why? I can't imagine any situation arising in my classroom that would require you to use a defensive spell, Miss Granger. You solely on expecting to be attacked during class. We are not going to use magic wand, ejected loudly. Students raise their hands when they wish to speak. In my class, Mr. Weasley, said one, thrusting his hand into the air. Professor Umbridge, smiling still more widely, turned her back on him. Harry and Hermione immediately raised their hands too. Professor Umbridge's pouchy eyes lingered on Harry for a moment before she addressed Hermione. Yes, Miss Granger? You wanted to ask something else? Yes, said Hermione. Surely the whole point of defense against the dark arts is to practice defensive spells. Are you a ministry trained educational expert? Miss Granger asked Professor Umbridge in her parsley sweet voice. No, but well then, I'm afraid you are not qualified to decide what the whole point of any classes. Wizards, much older and cleverer than you have devised our new program of study. You will be learning about defensive spells in a secure, risk-free way. What use is that, said Harry loudly. If we are going to be attacked, it won't be in a hand. Mr. Potter, sang Professor Umbridge. Harry thrust his fist in the air. Professor Umbridge promptly turned away from him again. But now several other people had their hands up too. And your name is? Professor Umbridge said to Dean. Dean Thomas. Well, Mr. Thomas, well, it's like Harry said, isn't it, said Dean? If we are going to be attacked, it won't be risk-free. I repeat, said Professor Umbridge, smiling in a very irritating fashion at Dean. Do you expect to be attacked during my classes? No. But Professor Umbridge talked over him. I do not wish to criticize the way things happened when in this school, she said, an unconvincing smile stretching her wide mouth. But you have been exposed to some very irresponsible wizards in this class. Very irresponsible indeed. Not to mention, she gave a nasty little laugh, extremely dangerous half-breeds. If you mean Professor Lupin, piped up Dean Thomas angrily, he was the best we ever had. Mr. Thomas as I was saying, you have been introduced to spells that have been complex, inappropriate to your age group, and potentially lethal. You have been frightened into believing that you are likely to meet dark attacks every other day. No, we haven't, Hermione said. We just. Your hand is not up, Miss Granger. Hermione put up her hand. Professor Umbridge turned away from her. It is my understanding that my predecessor not only performed illegal courses in front of you, he actually performed them on you. He turned out to be a maniac, didn't he? Said Dean Thomas hardly. Mind you, we still on loads. Your hand is not up, Mr. Thompson. Trill, Professor Umbridge. Professor Umbridge. Now, it is the view of the ministry that a theoretical knowledge will be more than sufficient to get you through your examination, which, after all, is what school is all about. And your name is, she added, staring at Parvati, whose hand had just shot up. Parvati, and isn't there a particle bit in our defense against the dark arts AWL? Aren't we supposed to show that we can actually do the counter courses and things? As long as you have studied the theory hard enough, there is no reason why you should not be able to perform the spells under carefully controlled examination conditions, said Professor Umbridge. This dismissively, without ever practicing them before, said Parvati impossibly. Are you telling us that the first time we will get to do we will get to do the spells will be during our exam? I repeat, as long as you have studied the theory hard enough. And what's good theory going to be in the real world? Said Harry loudly, his fist in the air again. Professor Umbridge looked up. This is for Mr. Potter, not the real world, she said softly. So, we are not supposed to be prepared for what's waiting out there? There was nothing waiting out there, Mr. Potter. Oh yes, said Harry, his temper, which seemed to have been bubbling just beneath the surface all day, was reaching boiling point. Who do you imagine wants to attack children like yourselves? Inquired Professor Umbridge in a horribly honeyed voice. Let's think, said Harry in a more thoughtful voice. Maybe Lord Voldemort? Ron gasped. Lavender Brown uttered a little scream, never slipped sideways off his stool. Professor Umbridge, however, did not flinch. She was staring at Harry with a grimly satisfied expression on her face. 10 points from Gryffindor, Mr. Potter. The classroom was silent and still. Everyone was staring at either Umbridge or Harry. Now, let me make a few things quite plain. Professor Umbridge stood up and leaned toward them, her stubby, fingered hands splayed on her desk. You have been told that a certain dark wizard has returned from the dead. He wasn't dead, said Harry angrily, but yeah, he's returned. He's returned. Mr. Potter, you have already lost your house 10 points. Do not make matters worse for yourself, said Professor Umbridge in one breath, without looking at him. As I was saying, you have been informed that a certain dog wizard is at hand once again. This is a lie. It is not a lie, said Harry. I saw him. I fought him. I fought him. Detention, Mr. Potter, said Professor Umbridge triumphantly. Tomorrow evening, 5 o'clock, my office. I repeat, this is a lie. The Ministry of Magic guarantees that you are not in danger from any dog wizard. If you are, stay worried by all means come and see me outside class hours. If someone is alarming you with fibs about reborn dog wizards, I would like to hear about it. I am here to help. I am your friend. And now, you will kindly continue your reading. Page 5. Basics for beginners. Professor Umbridge sat down behind her desk again. Harry, however, stood up. Everyone was staring at him. Seamus looked, half scared, half fascinated. Harry, no, Hermione whispered in a warning voice, tugging at his sleeve, but Harry jerked his arm out of her reach. So, according to you, Cedric Diggory dropped dead of his own accord, did he? Harry asked, his voice shaking. There was a collective intake of breath from the class, for none of them, apart from Ron and Hermione, had ever heard Harry talk about what had happened on the night that Cedric had died. They stared avidly from Harry to Professor Umbridge, who had raised her eyes and was staring at him without a trace of a fake smile on her face. Cedric Diggory's death was a tragic accident, she said coldly. It was murder, said Harry. He could feel himself shaking. He had hardly talked to anyone about this. Lisa Ball, 30, eagerly listening classmates. Baltimore killed him, and you know it. Professor Umbridge's face was quite blank. For a moment he thought she was going to scream at him. Then she said in her softest, most sweetly girlish voice, come here, Mr. Potter, dear. He kicked his chair aside, strode around Ron and Hermione and up to the teacher's desk. He could feel the rest of the class holding its breath. He felt so angry. He did not care what happened next. Professor Umbridge pulled a small roll of pink parchment out of her handbag, stretched it out on the desk, dipped her quill into a bottle of ink, and started scribbling on Stover so that Harry could not see what she was writing. Nobody spoke. After a minute or so, she rolled up the parchment and tapped it with her wand. It sealed itself seamlessly so that he could not open it. Take this, Professor McGonagall, dear, said Professor Umbridge, holding out the note to him. He took it from her without saying a word, turned on his heel, and left the room, not even looking back at Ron and Hermione, and slamming the classroom door shut behind him. He walked very fast along the corridor, the note to McGonagall clutched tight in his hand, and turning a corner, walked rock slap. Into peace, the poltergeist, a wide face, let a man floating on his back in midair, jiggling several ink wells. Inkwells. Wyatt's party, wee Potter crackled peas, allowing two of the inkwells to fall to the ground where they smashed and splattered the walls with ink. Harry jumped backward out of the way with a snarl. Get out of it, Peas. Oh, crap pots. Billy Clanky said Peas, pursuing Harry along the corridor, leering as he zoomed along above him. What is it this time, my fine party friend? Hearing voices, seeing visions, speaking in Peace blew a gigantic raspberry. Tongues? Tongues? I said, leave me alone, Harry shouted, running down the nearest flight of stairs, but Peace merely slid down the banister on his back beside him. Oh, most think he's barking the party we lad, but some are more kindly and think he's just sad but Peeves knows better and says that he's mad. He's mad. Shut up. A door to his left flew open and Professor McGonagall emerged from her office looking grim and slightly harassed. What on earth are you shouting about, Potter? She snapped as peas cracked gleefully and zoomed out of sight. Why aren't you in class? I have been sent to see you, said Harry stiffly. Sent? What do you mean sent? He held out the note from Professor Umbridge. Professor McGonagall took it from him, frowning, slid it open with a tap of her wand, snatched it out, and began to read. Her eyes zoomed from side to side behind the square spectacles as she read what Umbridge had written, and with each line they became narrower. Come in here, Potter. He followed her inside her study. The door closed automatically behind him. Well, said Professor McGonagall, rounding on him, is this true? Is what true? Harry asked, rather more aggressively than he had intended. Professor, he added, in an attempt to sound more polite. Is it true that you shouted at Professor Umbridge? Yes, said Harry. You called her a liar? Yes, you told her he who must not be named is back? Yes. Professor McGonagall sat down beside her desk, watching Harry closely. Then she said, have a biscuit, Potter. Have what? Have a biscuit, she repeated impatiently, indicating a tartan tin of cookies lying on top of one of the piles of papers on her desk, and sit down. There had been a previous occasion when Harry, expecting to be canned by Professor McGonagall, had instead been appointed by her to the Gryffindor Quidditch team. He sank into a chair opposite her and helped himself to a ginger newt, feeling just as confused and wrong-footed as he had done on that occasion. Professor McGonagall set down Professor Umbridge's notes and looked very seriously at Harry. Potter, you need to be careful. Harry swallowed his mouthful of ginger newt and stared at her. Her tone of voice was not at all what he was used to. It was not brisk, crisp, and stern. It was low and anxious, and somehow much more human than usual. Misbehavior in DOLORES Umbridge's class could cost you much more than house points and a detention. What do you, Potter, use your common Use your common sense, snapped Professor McGonagall with an abrupt return to her usual manner. You know where she comes from. You must know to whom she is reporting. She is reporting. The bell rang for the end of the lesson overhead, and all around came the ELEPHANTINE sounds of hundreds of students on the move. It says here, she's giving you detention every evening this week, starting tomorrow, Professor McGonagall said, looking down at, at Umbridge's note again. Every evening this week, Harry repeated, horrified. But Professor, couldn't you know? I couldn't. No, I couldn't, said Professor McGonagall flatly, but she is your teacher and has every right to give you detention. You will go to her room at 5 o'clock tomorrow for the first one. Just remember, tread carefully around DOLORES Umbridge. But I was telling the truth, said Harry, outraged. Baltimore's back. You know he is. Professor Dumbledore knows he is. For heaven's sake, Potter, said Professor McGonagall, straightening her glasses angrily. She had winced horribly when he had used Baltimore's name. Do you really think this is about truth or lies? It's about keeping your head down and your temper under control. She stood up, nostrils wide and mouth very thin, and he stood too. Have another biscuit, she said irritably, thrusting the tin at him. No thanks, said Harry coldly. Don't be ridiculous, she snapped. He took one. Thanks, he said grudgingly. Didn't you listen to DOLORES Umbridge's speech at the start of Tom Tease Potter? Yeah, said Harry. Yeah, she said progress will be prohibited, or well, it meant that the Ministry of Magic is trying to interfere at Hogwarts. Professor McGonagall eyed him closely for a moment, then sniffed, walked around her desk, and held open the door for him. Well, I am glad you listened to Hermione Granger. At any rate, she said, pointing him out of her office. Okay, that's the end of chapter 12. Okay, bye-bye.